And we're back. This is the last of the Portland Comic Book Month videos, so I didn't read a comic to review for you, but I did go to a launch party for one, and I want to tell you all about it. Also, you can learn a little bit about a comic book shop you may have not been to and how you can help them out. They make inclusivity a priority, which is super cool. So without further ado, let's talk comics. So I went to a launch party at Books with Pictures for the 3rd physical issue of The Nib. If you don't know what The Nib is, it's a website that has political commentary cartoons and long-form nonfiction cartoons, and it has the highest readership of any daily comic publication, which is super cool. And I talked to some of the editors from The Nib, and they told me what this new issue was about, what you can expect from The Nib, why you should read it, and why they think that political commentary and nonfiction comics work so well.
I mean, if you're looking for like editorial cartoons that are like, I guess, progressive and like more contemporary, like we're not like stuffy, editorial cartoons from your local newspaper. Like, we've got cartoons on issues that affect people in the modern era. We have a lot of issues on like, gender and sexuality, as well as, commentary on the current political situation,
Yeah, so our 3rd issue is out now. Its theme is Empire, and that focuses on everything from American Empire to the First Gulf War to how different food has colonial roots in different countries, and also a lot of funnier things like the Bachelor TV show, the empire of that show, and the sort of the soap empire of Dr. Bronner.
Some stories are best told in visuals, and there's a lot that you can miss out on I don't mean to denigrate your art form, but when you're filming something, there's things you can't show, and it's difficult to hold on to those like emotional moments or those comedic moments that happen in life, Whereas I think sometimes with a comic, you're given a little bit of extra time. The reader can stop, they can pause, and you can visually engineer a page so that it's easy for them to do that. But I think also sometimes, that old adage, a picture tells 1,000 words, I think is really true. When you're talking about politics, there's a lot of stuff that can be going on, but there sometimes is a really succinct point right in the middle of all of that.
Political cartoons and nonfiction comics have always had this ability to connect with people and say things about what is going on in the world. Right now, we're in this bizarre, surreal Trump era, and a lot of people are outraged, and there's sort of things going on every day that seem insane and make you feel crazy, and that the country's never going to return to normal again. So I think there's a desire to have a kind of some comic relief from that. I mean, we're not just doing jokes, we're trying to do actual biting commentary about what's going on, but there's not really a lot of other publications that are doing what we're doing. I mean, we're an all comics publication, and there really isn't another place that's doing that, all comics, that's focused on the news or nonfiction.
I think you can pick up the issue in a lot of comic book stores. If your comic book store doesn't have it, then they can get it through Diamond Distribution. But you can also get it online at our website.
So we have really political stories, but one really specific way that Empire manifests is in the history of different foods, and foods carry the history of colonization as they're remixed over different people living in certain places and invading certain places. The food changes too. So I think food is a really interesting way to tell the story of Empire. Malaka Group sent in this pitch that I would call a slam dunk of a pitch, where she said she wants to tell the story about how something you learn about your favorite childhood food can change the way it tastes forever. And I read that and I was like, great, don't even care what it is, let's do it. No. And, but she was really good. She has this story about the history of cheese pimiento, which in the United States we know as pimento cheese. I've always thought of pimento cheese as a southern food. It's popular in Tennessee. It's a mix of really squishy orange cheese and then peppers and some other ingredients. But Malaka grew up eating it as a Filipino food. And she was looking at, how did this cheese that was an American southern dish, why is it known in my family as a Filipino food? What's the history there? And that history actually relates to the Spanish-American War, and then the American invasion and occupation of the Philippines, which happened in the 1890s up through the 1940s. And so when America invaded the Philippines and became an occupying force there, we left behind some foods and some southern flavors.
So each physical issue of the Nib has had a different theme. There's death, there's Families, and now there's Empire. And you can pick those up at your local comic book store, and if your local comic book store doesn't have them, you can ask them to order them through Diamond Distribution. Now this launch party was held at Books with Pictures, which is a comic book shop on Southeast Division Street here in Portland, but they're looking to move. And so I talked with owner Katie Proctor, and she told me a little bit about the move, the exciting things on the horizon, and you can help them out if you're interested.
So Books with Pictures is definitely a place where you can come and get your Batman and your Wonder Woman, but we really focus on inclusivity. So if you've ever come into a comic shop and felt like you didn't see yourself reflected on the shelf, if you're any kind of non-traditional nerd, if you're black or queer or whatever, we definitely specialize in having comics with those sorts of folks in them, which is something I just love doing. So we were able to buy the building that has most recently been the Longfellow's Books building, which is just up the street from our location here on Southeast Division. So I was able to work with a bunch of friends who invested with me in buying that building, about 19 of us. And so we are now working on renovating that building so that the shop can move down there. It's a little bit more space, but more importantly, it's not a place we're paying rent. Absolutely. So the Kickstarter's going great. We have had tremendous support from the Portland and the national sort of comics creative communities. So we have rewards, including prints that were drawn for us, including by our own staff and some other artists, some pins that were designed for us, and then original art, pages from comics like Autumn Lands and Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, and all sorts of gorgeous original artwork in that Kickstarter as well. We also have some tickets up for Rose City Comic Con that were donated by the con to us for the Kickstarter. Just all sorts of amazing support from the community to let us make this move. So it goes, we are closing the campaign at 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, so through the 7th. Also this Saturday is Free Comic Book Day, which is an all-day event for us where we get to give away comics for all ages, kids comics, adult comics. For Free Comic Book Day in the morning, we're going to have the 501st Legion, so Jedi cosplayers are going to be hanging out and entertaining the troops. And in the afternoon, we're going to have a brand new cosplay group called the PDX Avengers coming in. So we will have a crew of Avengers cosplaying for us. We're also going to have in the morning a local artist named Farrah Bolding is going to be doing sketches for folks. And in the afternoon, Eric Donovan is going to be here in the afternoon, also drawing for folks. So it's going to be really fun.
And Free Comic Book Day, of course I didn't forget about Free Comic Book Day. I'm going to be at Floating World Comics, and there's going to be lots of cool stuff going on there. Free comics, people doing art and stuff like that. So drop by. They're at 400 Northwest Cooch Street. You know, I may visit some other shops that I've never been to before. There are lots of them in Portland. We're pretty comics blessed here. And you know, there are over 5 million comics that are given out nationwide on Free Comic Book Day, which is just so cool. Comic books, they promote literacy, they respect art, and you know, I love comics. I think more people should read more comics all the time. So even if you're not like a habitual comic book reader, maybe you go out to that local shop down the street that you've never been to and say hi to everybody and pick up a free comic and see if you like it. You never know. So yeah, let me know what your weekend plans are. Hopefully it's Free Comic Book Day. This has been the last of the Portland Comic Book Month videos, so things will go back to mostly normal. So let me know what comics you've been reading, if you've been liking them or hating them. I want to read them and talk to my friends about it, because that's the best part about comic books. And yeah, I'm assuming everybody on the internet is my friend. I'm ignoring those rude people on Twitter. So this has been KGW's Comic Pick of the Week.